America right now comes to Tanzania, comes to Ghana, comes to Zambia with 16 million. And guess what? 16 million only for Zambia. The 16 million, ask me, what is it for?
What is it for?
For human rights. Across the river, China and Russia coming to South Africa, ask me for what?
For what?
For a military training and skills sharing of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves. So I want to say this very loud and clear to the Americans. Continue on your transgender agenda. Stay there. Leave us to do politics on the other side. Because what we need right now is not a minority human rights activation. What we need is a societal transformation. And for you as Americans to think that we really envy that when you have an anti-lesbian, anti-gay, LGBT principle, then tourists would drop. Let me correct that once and for all, Sbu. And cut and clip this, and it must be loud and clear. Are you saying to me that all the tourists are gay? And when you hear that this is a non-gay zone, tourism will suffer? Question number one. Question number two. Are you saying that we don't have a right to expressing ourselves as Africans? Question number three. If democracy means majority rules and majority votes against a principle, then why won't you allow that to become law? Are you saying the minority must manage the majority or the majority must manage the minority? Then if that whole ideology is wrong, then take democracy in a nice black dustbin bag and throw it outside. Because what you are telling us is by the people, for the people, with the people, and all those slogans you hear, what democracy represents. If we are 10 in the room and 9 people say no, and one person says yes, democracy says you go with the majority. So if we say we want to make Africa democratic, and the demographics of our democracy says no, then why do you philosophically want to manipulate the will of the majority to favor the will of the minority? Then this is where it really gets confusing to me. Because you're selling me one thing on one. I understand this democracy because it is based on the principle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it comes to practice, no, you can't practice it like that. Then what do you want? Do you want democracy? You want anarchy? You want indigenous governance systems? You want meritocracy? Maybe let's find another way of governing ourselves. But the ideology of democracy being founded on majority rule does not count. Because the rule that runs the South African constitution right now is not majority count, but minority count. I'm sorry to make it philosophical.
I'll throw in Uganda in the equation. It's waiting to be signed is it in Parliament or the President? Yeah. I think it's waiting for the President.
Same with Ghana also.
Is it with Ghana also? I saw Kamala Harris say with the President.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing it into the equation since the line of your conversation is there.
The Uganda conversation, I like what Museveni presented, which also Ruto presented. Same word for word, what Emerson Mnangagwa presented, and ultimately what Museveni is also saying. That we have bigger issues to be worried about as Africans. Right now, we're looking at, I like what you're doing, unemployment, housing issues, and etc. For us to begin to, these for me it's like arguing who gets the cherry on the cake when we have not had the basic meal as Africans. We're now arguing about the frivolous extras of a well-survived society who wants to explore alternative lifestyles. When right now the basics of lifestyles have not been considered. I will go on record for being on your show and saying it loud and clear without mixing words. Put 100 people on an island and lock them away from everybody. Put 100 people on an island who are heterosexual, those are homosexual, come back after 50 or 20 or 30 years. On that island, you'll find graves with no living being there. On this island, you'll find 10,000 people growing and exploring and moving. So, having said that, we as a society, particularly as African society, we also as traditional people have a right to our self-preservation and continuity as a people. Alternative lifestyles must be practiced where they must be practiced, but the main agenda of societal drive must be left to the right, because even those that are on the left come from the right. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I understand. But a lot of people can be saying this is a human rights issue. I mean, even EFF marched and said we can't keep quiet and be seeing a human rights issue happen in Uganda and we do nothing about it. Although you find a lot of Ugandans, even online on the internet, saying Museveni is making decisions that are based on godly principles.